Let me give you a problem like, let's say you're shopping and you see a sign that says 20% off. So the question is, what is 20% off? Again, you're buying, I don't know, you're buying Christmas gift and the price on it is 86 bucks. And the big sign says 20% off. So in your mind, you want to know what's the discount. So what is 20% of 86? That's what the question is. Come on, Omar. Never mind that. Let's go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep. Get some paper. Take some notes. So what are we going to do? Remember a couple of things. Is means what? Equal. Of means what? Multiply. 20% times 86 is the unknown, whatever you want to call it. Now, if it says translate, you stop right here. Because they don't want to solve it. But if it says solve it, that means you can't stop here. You have to continue with the problem. So how do we solve it? What do? We need to change the percent to a decimal. Now think of your alphabet. Percent, decimal. Visualize, where are they? Do you go to the left or to the right? To the left, how many places? 2. Move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Again, if you want to multiply them by hand, you go 80% times 20. 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 8 is 0. 2 times 6, 12. 2 times 8, 16, and 1, 17. And now we're going to move the decimal point how many places? 2, because you have 2 decimal places. So your savings on that shirt, blouse, whatever it is, you will save $17.20. So when you see is, you always make it equal. When you see of, you always make it multiplications. Another one. What is? Let's say you're buying a car. Sales tax in Massachusetts is what? 6.5%? What is 6.5%? You're buying a car of, I don't know. You want to buy a new car or a used one? Used. Okay, let's say the price is what? $22,000? That's your sales tax that you have to give to register a motor vehicle or even to the dealer where you're buying the car from. Is means equal 6.5% times 22,000. We have to change percent to a decimal. So to decimal, this is what? 0.065. Gotta move the decimal point 2 places to the left times the 22,000. I'm assuming we all know how to multiply by now, hopefully decimal numbers, so to speed up the process, I'll use my calculator for that. 0.065 times 22,000. You will have to pay $1,430 more for sales tax. So if you bought the car for $22,000, you really owe them what? $23,430 plus whatever interest if they charge you interest. Again, the thing to remember, you have to change that percent to a decimal value. Move the decimal point 2 places to the left. Let me try a few more. And maybe I'll put a twist in some of them. What is 200% of 14? Is equal 200% of means multiply, and there's the 14. We're going to change that from percent to a decimal. We're going to move the decimal point which way? To the left 2 places. Where's the decimal point right now? Right now at the end of that 0 here. So if you move it 2 places, it's going to end up being what? 2. So what's 2 times 14? 28, right? Where it might get a little bit ugly, as I said, Christmas is coming. You'll see a lot of sales now. So you see a sign that says 33 1/3% off. So you're buying a nice jacket. The price on the jacket, it's $120. So what is 33 1/3% of that? So we're going to figure out what that number is. Is equal 33 1/3% times 120. Now, because this looks like a fraction, maybe instead of changing it to a decimal, I should change it to a fraction. How do you change this to a fraction? What do? Divide it by 100, right? Is that how you go from percent to a fraction? So let's go to the side here and do that. What is 33 1/3 divided by 100 equal to? Well, we know that's 33 1/3 divided by 100. Change it to improper fraction, that's 100 over 3 divided by what? 100 over 1. Now we're going to change it to multiplication, Jamie. Yes, it's going to be 100 over 3 times, what is it? 1 over 100. KCF, keep, change, and flip. 1/3. So you don't have always to change it to a decimal. You can change it to a fraction. So that will be what? 1/3 times the 120. Now keep in mind the 120 over what? Over 1. Now you're multiplying fractions. 1 times 120 is 120. 3 times 1 is 3. Can I simplify that? Isn't that a 40? So you will save $40 on that jacket now. Which means you're going to pay what for it? 80. The price is 120. You saved $40. You're paying 80. Now let me put a little twist on that, just a little bit, change them around. All the examples I did, notice the numbers happen to be on the same side. See them? 2 and 4, 2 times 4, this times that. The previous two, both numbers are on the same side. So let's see what's going to happen the next example. %8 of what number? Is 12. Again, if you change it, take the is, make it equal, take the of, make it multiply. 8%. What number that's unknown is what? 12. And you can change the percent either decimal or fraction. It really doesn't matter. If you change it to a decimal, that's what? Point what? 08. Yes, Angelica. 0.08. Notice that's what? A multiplication? That's an equation. We did that, I think, in chapter 4. When you have multiplication, what's the opposite to multiplication? What do? Divide. We divide. Yes, 0.08. And if you want to divide them by hand, you really can't because that's a decimal number. You got to make the number on the bottom what? A whole number? So you got to move that decimal point how many places? 2 places, which means you got to move this 2 places. So this becomes what? 1200 divided by 8. There's a decimal point here if we need it. There's lots of zeros at the end if we need them. If we need them. Can I divide 12 by 8? 1. 1 times 8 is 8. There's the 4. 40. 40 by 8? 5. 5 times 8, 40. Remainder is 0. Bring that 0 down. 0 by 8 is 0. You got to put a 0 there. Not a 15, that's a 150. X equals 150. So 8% of 150 will be 12 bucks. $220 of what number is 8.6? I'm just making things up. Just make them up. Of means multiply, is means equal. 220% times some unknown equals 8.6. Again, we can change this one to either fraction or decimal. If I change it to a decimal, that becomes what? 2.2. Right? You gotta move it 2 places. 2.2x equals 8.6. So to solve for x, we're going to divide by what? 2.2. Again, move this decimal point 1 place to the right. That's 1 place to make the bottom number a whole number. If you want to simplify it, you can divide by 2. That's 11. This is what? Is that 43? The fact the bottom is 11, that's not going to end. It's going to go on and on forever. Forever. Yes. Is that what? Should be 150. Because you bring that 0 down. 0 divided by 8, you got to put a 0. Not you can't, you got to put a 0. Remember, if you're saying 15, right? If you take 8% of 15, what's 0.8 times 15? Check your answer. What's 0.08? Can you see that on the screen? Times 15. That's 1.2. But if I go 0.08 times 150 is 12. So you have to put the 0 there because the remainder is 0, but 0 divided by 8 is still 0. If that 0 was at the end after the decimal point, I don't put it. But the fact is, before the decimal point, you have to fill that location. That's a 0. Now to divide these two, this will go on forever. Well, you can. This is what it looks like on my calculator, Jamie. And if you did it by hand, you'll notice that. So which part is repeating? Yes, the 90. And Jamie said put a line over the 90, and that means it repeats. The 90 repeats. 90, 90, 90. Or they might say to you, Jamie, instead of a line, round your answer to nearest hundredth. If they said hundredth, that means 2 decimal places. That'll be 3.91 if that's money. That's $3.91, you know. Let's try another one. Let's put another twist in it. What percent of 40 is 15? What percent of means multiply, is means equal. That's unknown. X times 40, 40x equals 15. How do you solve for x? What do you do? Divide by what? By 40, right? And if you divide 15 by 40 as a decimal number, if you do it, that's 0.375. Here's the problem. We're looking for what? We're looking for percent. What we have for an answer is what? Is that a percent? That's a decimal. How do you change a decimal to a percent? Move it 2 places to the right, so that would be what? 37.5%. That's what makes this method not attractive. A lot of people don't like it because notice, when you have a percent, I got to change it to a decimal. Move it 2 places to the left. Or when I have, what was it? We had a fraction here. We had a problem like this. We changed the percent to a fraction. Now I got to change my answer back from decimal to percent. I'm constantly switching back and forth. People said, I'm not going to remember that. That's too much switching. So is there another method? Yes. Give me a minute. We'll show you the other method that you don't have to switch automatically in that method. And it makes it more attractive. But let me try another one. What percent of 75 is, or let's make it 80. Okay, is, I'll leave it, 15. I'm looking for the percent again. Of means multiply, is means equal. There's the 75. This is the 15. This is the unknown. X times 75 is 75x. Now if you divide them, and if you simplify 15 over 75, notice you can divide that by what? By 15? That's 1 over 5 if you simplify it. But that's not a percent. That answer is what? It's a fraction. How do you change a fraction to percent? What do you do? fraction to percent. Not divide, that's the reverse. Multiply, Brittany, yes. Multiply by what? 100 over 1. So you end up with what? 100 over 5, which is what? 20%. And that's what makes this method unattractive, is the constantly changing fraction to percent, percent to fraction, fraction to decimal, decimal to percent. You know? So now we need to come up with a different method that I don't have to keep switching. And we do have a method that says you don't have to worry about switching anything. This method's called the proportion method. And I'll bless you. And we'll show you how it works. So we are going to be using proportion. It is the ratio of the amount to the base is always the same as the percent to 100. Always. That's the proportion. Here's the first question. What is 108% of 250? Do we know what the percent is? So the amount, I'm lazy here, the amount to the base is the same as percent to 100. I'll just write it like this. Do we know what the percent is? 108. So this is the percent. You can see the percent sign in it. Is this number the amount or is it the base? Well, look for the word of. I'll give you a little hint. See the word of? And what comes after of, always your base. So locate where the word of in the statement is and what comes after as your base. So that 250 here is your base. And I'm looking for A or X, whatever you want to call it. Does that look familiar? We just had that in chapter 5, solving proportion. Cross multiply, right? 100A equals, so where's my calculator here? What's 250 times 108? 250 times 108. 27,000. And to solve for A, what are we going to do? Divide by 100. Notice 2 zeros here will cancel 2 zeros there. So what's your answer? 270. I don't have to convert the percent to a decimal, fraction, anything. Let me try another one. %. Oh, I don't know the word percent. 6% of what number is 12.4? Again, I want to use proportion. The amount to the base is the same as the percent to 100. What's my amount here? Do we know? What's the base? What's the percent? We know the obvious one. Which one's the obvious one? Percent. So that's the 6. Notice I don't go, let's make it decimal, let's make it fraction, leave it alone. 12.4. Let's look for the word of. And I just kept saying what comes after of is what? Your base. So what's this? That's your base. That's what comes after of. So that's not known to us. So we don't know what the base is. That leaves one number there, and process of elimination says that number has to be what? The amount. Now solve it. Cross multiply. 6b equals cross multiply 1240. And to solve for b, you divide by 6. One, 2, 4, 0 divided by 6. What do we got? 206, and it repeats. The 6 repeats. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6.
So why don't you do it like 67?
Huh? I can do it. What is it?
Like 67.
Well, it's not. It's the way 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. So if they don't say like round to nearest 10th or 100th, it's repeating. Because once you round, it becomes an approximation, you know. But if they say round nearest 10th, you go 0.7. If they say round nearest 100th, 0.67. Nearest 1,000, 0.667. It keeps going on, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6. But notice again, I don't have to convert anything. It's done. I'll do one with percent, looking for the percent. What percent of 50 is 12? Amount, let's write that equation. The amount to the base is what? Percent to 100. Do we know the percent? Unknown. So that's the unknown. So one of these numbers is the base, one of them is the amount. Let's look for the word of, and what comes after of is what? The base. So in this case, the base is what? 50. That means 12 is the amount. Solve this. 50p equals what? 1200. And to solve for p, we're going to divide by 50. I can cancel these, so you have 120 over 5. And if you go to this side and divide them, 2 times 5 is 10, the remainder is 2, 20 by 5 is 4, 4 times 5 is 20. So the answer is what? 24%. Notice I don't have to move the decimal point, it's nothing, it's all taken care of it. A lot of people like this method way better than the other one because there is no change percent to a decimal or change percent to a fraction, change decimal back to percent. This all taken care of it using that proportion.
So you can use that same method for that.
You can use either method, you know.
Both would give you the same
Yep.
answer.
They should give you, yeah. What method you use when you solve a problem should not make a difference on the answer. It's the same question, so the answer better be the same. If you like this method better, use that one. If you like the other one better, use the other one. The only problem with that, sometimes we'll say translate, and they don't want you to solve it. and it says translate using proportion, that means you got to use this method. If they say translate using proportion, you stop right there. They don't want to solve it. So you can't use the other method because they want you to translate. If they say solve it, well, nobody checks your work. Nobody sees what you're doing there. So you can use any method. But if it says translate using proportion, you got to use that method. If it says translate without using proportion, they're looking at the other method. Some of these questions, they're not going to make you solve